I'm Rabbi Barclay, and welcome to the Rabbi's Table, a place of dialogue, not debate, a place where we can disagree without being disagreeable, a place where we have icons and leaders in culture, religion, politics from around the world coming in and just sitting at a table like you would sit at any dinner table. It's a really great honor. Today our guest is Alex Marlow. Alex is the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News, and if you're not sure what Breitbart News is, you should be, because it really is the leader in conservative media and in opening all sorts of information and opinions. Alex is the first employee of Breitbart and has seen a tremendous amount of change and a tremendous amount of work and people. And so we're going to be able to have a little dialogue with him. He's also a best-selling author. He's written some books: Breaking the News, Exposing the Establishment Media's Hidden Deals; Breaking Biden, Exposing the Hidden Forces and Secret Money Machine Behind Joe Biden, His Family, Administration; and Breaking the Law, Exposing the Weaponization of America's Legal System Against Donald Trump. So he likes to break things, I guess, but I think what he really likes to break down is to break apart fallacies, to break apart delusions and illusions, and bring clarity to the world. So we're very, very blessed to have Alex Marlow as our guest. So I invite you to sit back, get a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, a glass of kombucha, a glass of Chardonnay, a glass of Merlot, whatever it is that you like to drink, a pastry, and whatever you want to eat. Sit back, relax. Come join myself, Rabbi Barclay, and Alex Marlow, the editor of Breitbart News, as we sit down at the Rabbi's Table to just enjoy the evening together. I've been blessed to travel all over the world. I have to be honest. One of my favorite places to go, especially with my family, is up to Reno, and specifically up to the Atlantis Resort up in Reno. It is beautiful. It's an amazing hotel, amazing restaurants. Reno's this fabulous little city. It really is the biggest little city in the world. You can go in the spring or the summer to Lake Tahoe. You can ski in the winter. Everything is up there. And I want to recommend that you go to Atlantis Casino and Resort. Go atlantiscasino.com, ATLANTIS, casino.com. Make your reservation. Spend a couple of days or a week up there. I promise you'll be happy about it. I know that I always am whenever we go up. So we're here at the Rabbi's Table with special guest Alex Marlow. Alex, thank you so much for coming and joining and sitting down and taking some time out from your very, very busy schedule. I know you have a podcast, a radio show, you're editing Breitbart, all these things. So thank you so much for taking some time and sitting down together. It's really, really appreciated.
Thank you, Rabbi. I appreciate what you do.
Thank you. You're very kind. And thank you for all that you do for the world. I think people don't really get the breadth of your experience in life. You were the first employee at Breitbart News, correct?
Yeah, I was. I started out as a glorified assistant for Andrew Breitbart, where I was the most interesting thing I did on a day-to-day basis was moderate comments that would come into the various articles that he was syndicating as an aggregator. We didn't have original news at the time, but he had this very clever idea while he was running the Drudge Report with Matt Drudge that he would collect all of the various news outlets from around the world into one place, so he would have easy access to it, so he could rifle through them to post links on the Drudge Report. And he had his own site, Breitbart.com, where a lot of them would collect, and then people would leave comments, and I would moderate those, meaning to approve the ones that were not, spam or unnecessarily violent, and reject the rest. And then other than that, I was picking up laundry and stocking fridges, and who knew that I would get to have a front seat at a lot of historical events from there.
Well, let's talk about that. You really have had a front seat at historical events and known a lot of people.
Yeah.
So maybe the best way to demonstrate to people, because a lot of times you're behind the scenes, you've been running Breitbart, maybe the best way to demonstrate to people really the breadth of your experience. I'm just going to toss out names. Give me a one-word line or phrase or anecdote about the individual, because you've met or spent time with pretty much everybody, I think. Is that a fair thing to do?
It really is a lot of people. So we'll see. I wonder if you'll come up with anyone I don't know. It's kind of rare, but let's see.
Well, I don't want to stump you, so let's just start with an easy one. Andrew Breitbart.
Andrew is on the Mount Rushmore of conservatism in the modern day era, because not only was Andrew someone who was a effective activist, he really was a pioneer in terms of tactics. We all benefit from Andrew. We all are on his shoulders because he pioneered a couple of things that are important. First of all, identifying the establishment media as the number one existential threat to the republic. I think we're all on board with this, but it was really Andrew came up with this. But also using guerrilla tactics in order to defeat our political foes and the media itself, using things like hidden camera videos and flashy headlines and a tabloid sensibility, but also having a reliance on the truth as well. But being able to be fun and culture warriors and to be able to have the culture be a fundamental part of what it means to be conservative. And it's not just about foreign policy and economic policy. It really is about tactics and about style.
Okay, let's keep going. We'll move right through a bunch of people, as many as we can. Charlie Kirk.
Charlie was the most unrelenting worker that I've ever seen. He was someone who was incredibly magnanimous. He was a friend of mine, and I am reluctant to spend the whole show talking about Charlie because I can, because
No, these are brief. We're just doing brief ones on each of these people.
We're just doing brief ones, but I would say Charlie is the highest example of terrific work ethic and wanting others around him to succeed.
Great. The man who actually introduced us originally, Dr. Sebastian Gorka.
Dr. Gorka is the definition of an American patriot. This guy, this is his adopted country, and he treats it so much better with so much more reference and deference than just about anyone I know. And I think it's a real testament to our country, but also to him.
And he's a genius as well. Ben Shapiro.
Ben is a genius. I haven't spent a lot of time with Ben in recent years, but when he worked for us at Breitbart, he's got the proverbial cathedral mind that people say Pete Buttigieg has, which is totally bogus. Ben is the highest IQ person I think I've met, and it certainly shows with his voluminous content.
Let's go in a different direction. Candace Owens.
Candace is a demon. She's a demonic force. She's been commandeered by some sort of a demon, another person who's got a lot of charisma and brain power. But the fact that she spent the last year trying to destroy Charlie Kirk's organization and his family, I think that's someone I think she's honestly been possessed.
I don't know if you know this. I was actually the first person to call her out as an anti-Semite and Tucker Carlson for their anti-Semitism.
It's obviously
disgusting.
what it is. The obsession with her and the Jews is ridiculous, and hopefully people see through it at this point.
As long as we're going down that dark side, so to speak, Tucker Carlson.
I think Tucker's a confused moment. My analysis of him is that he is someone who has deep regrets over his support over the Iraq War. I think he was close with his dad, who passed away recently, and because of that, I think he's haunted. I think he's a haunted person. And that might be literal. It's certainly figurative. And I think that he has lost his way somehow. I don't know him very well enough to opine beyond that. But I know that he used to think very clearly, and now he does not.
Peter Schweitzer, your colleague.
Peter is the best researcher in the world, and he is the most productive conservative writer around. It's only him and Mark Levin can move books. And those are the only two guys who move books at the level that Peter can. And Peter is just a unrelenting, just a hound dog trying to get every fact and detail. And he blows me away that what he's able to unearth consistently that people with actual subpoena power can't.
Well, since you just brought him up, the great one, Mark Levin.
Mark is another guy who's a true patriot and a relentless warrior for the country. And he certainly has pioneered a style of using a righteous indignation, which was something that Andrew used righteous indignation as well, but Mark is the most righteously indignant. And there's no better guy to agree with. Nothing feels better than when Mark's on a rant and you find yourself agreeing with him.
Let's go to someone else who's done some ranting in his lifetime. How about Dr. Savage, Michael Savage?
Another guy who is just unbeatable when he's on a rant and you find yourself agreeing. It's a surreal pleasure to have that. Another guy who's been very magnanimous with me over the years, and I'm grateful to him for that. And I still yearn to be able to effortlessly segue from hard news to what I ate for dinner last night and who I ate it with and what I was drinking with the dinner, and back to hard news as effortlessly as he's able to do that.
Savage is Michael tunes into our services at times, and he's just and people don't even realize he's brilliant as Dr. Michael Weiner as well. He's really a tzaddik. He's really a righteous man. Let's go back to someone else from the past who's not with us anymore. How about Rush Limbaugh?
Rush was on when we started Breitbart.com. Every morning at 9, Andrew would put on Rush Limbaugh, And I never got to know Rush. Rush had a producer that did not like me for some reason, which is just really weird because I never talked to him. So I never got to know Rush because there's a gatekeeper. But I do know that he's singular in his ability to use one man's voice to be able to communicate conservative values. He was so effective the way he did it. Another pioneering figure, another guy that would be on our Mount Rushmore of modern conservatism. Andrew revered him as much as anyone else. And it was always a blast when Andrew would tell me, watch this, when we were in the basement, and he'd send Rush a story, and Rush would immediately go to air and talk about it. I always found that to be a total blast to be able to witness that.
Okay, let's just do a couple more people. Let's take someone, well, very briefly, one of your former colleagues, Steve Bannon.
Steve is another person who is a kind of misunderstood genius, another guy with just unbelievable intellectual capacity. And I think that he shows real leadership. And sometimes that means you get some stuff wrong, but he's got real leadership qualities and is a force of nature like no one else. I've never seen anyone work harder than Steve. And I'm really grateful for my time with him. I think he gets some things that I don't always agree with, but he's a guy who is a tone and trendsetter on a level that is really only rivaled by, I would say, Trump right now in modern conservatism.
So I'm going to ask for three more people if we can do them really, really quickly because we're getting close to a hard break.
Sure.
Step outside. Secretary Marco Rubio.
I think he's a unifier. He's a unifier.
Great.
I think the whole conservative base behind him.
J.D. Vance.
Expert communicator, the heart of the middle class in America and working class.
Okay, let me ask you one other person. You may know him. Alex Marlow.
Oh, man. That's a harder one. That's the hardest one. I don't know. A guy just here for a good time.
There we go. There we go. And we're going to come back for a good time here at the Rabbi's Table. I think it was just kind of fun to do with you, Alex, and it kind of shows how you really have this amazing breadth of experience and relationships. We're going to deal a little bit more into that. We're going to delve into some different issues as we come back to the Rabbi's Table with Alex Marlow, the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News, an amazing man, a brilliant man, and a man who's really looking for a good time, according to himself. We'll be right back here at the Rabbi's Table. The Jewish high holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are just around the corner in mid-September, and everyone should have a place that they can go to, a community they can go to, a place to pray and be present for these important days. And so I want to invite you to come join myself, my cantors, Benny Lipson and David McGarry, our musical director, Matt Gurman, our entire Temple Ner Simcha community. Come join us for the high holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. You can go register for tickets at therabbistable.com. You can register to be there live, or if you're watching this, or you're out of town and listening to this, you can go online as well and participate in the services. There's no mandatory cost, but registration is mandatory so we can keep security and everyone safe at these high holiday services. So come join me at Temple Ner Simcha. Come join me for these beautiful high holidays of Rosh Hashanah, of Yom Kippur. Welcome in this new year with joy, health, passion, and peace. Shana Tova U'Metaka. May it be a joyous and healthy new year. I hope to see you at Rosh Hashanah. So we're back at the Rabbi's Table with Alex Marlow, the editor-in-chief of Breitbart. Alex, that was fun to just do. Anything you want to comment on that?
Yeah, that was really kind of a blast. I guess I was thinking about it. I knew everyone but Rush on your list to some degree. It's the some better than others. I spent not a lot of time with Candace and only a little bit of time with Tucker, though quite a bit, I guess. But that is interesting that it's fun to reflect that I know so many people. I was thinking about myself and what I would like to be known as a well-rounded person. That's how my dad described me at my wedding toast 13 years ago. So I kind of think about that as that I like to have a lot of skills in the news business. I've done research. I edit a website. I think I'm decent at radio. So I like that. I think I'm a decent mentor to younger people. But I think that's one thing that is not necessarily great in our modern times. It's sometimes good to specialize. But I don't love specializing. I like being good at a few different things.
Well, we're going to go into that in the podcast segment that's not part of the radio show.
Yeah.
But in the podcast segment, to me, what's really important is about the soul and the spirit of the guest. So truly the soul of Alex Marlow and really explore some of those issues. There's some other issues that I think we kind of have to touch on. I mean, the challenge and the blessing of having you here is that we could talk about any issue and you're an expert on it. And I'm not saying that in any sort of false way. I mean, you really are. You, because of what you do, you're an expert on any given issue. I think there are a couple that are worth spending a few moments on right now, however. One that I know you've been talking a fair amount about, which is the whole gender dysphoria and how it affects athletics.
Yeah.
So I actually would argue that gender dysphoria, someone can believe whatever they want to believe for themselves. But when you start saying that they are a we or they can be gender fluid, that's almost a form of idol worship because you can't change your X and Y chromosomes. You can change your sexuality, your sexual preferences, you can change your energy, but you can't change your chromosomes. Where do you stand with the whole concept of the transgender movement? The concept of what it's doing in athletics, and also how it has merged certainly in California public schools, to not being a pride flag, but being a progress flag, which combines LGBTQ alphabet with pro-Palestine Marxist causes. How do you deal with this?
Yeah, there are a few points here I think are crucial to make. One thing that I mentioned on my show earlier this week is that there was a big opportunity by the L's and the G's that they needed to disassociate themselves from the T's, and they missed it. And this was a big mistake from them. But we all know that it's not the L's and the G's that run the LGBT movement. It's just left-wing activism. That's what it's all about. It's about motivating coalitions of voters. But overall, this is not just, we are so far beyond being gay and we need to be tolerant. These are people that are trying to undermine science. They're trying to undermine the nuclear family by watering down the definition, distorting the definition of male and female, which is a anti-science position. It also shows to erode the nuclear family, which is one of the essential units in American life and has made us a uniquely special place, is the emphasis on the American family. All of this is doing is undermining that. And you brought up the schools, and this is so important because I have children in California public schools, and it is a thing that I'm deeply concerned about. As they get a little bit older, my eldest is 7, about to turn 8. As they get a little bit older, they're going to start getting introduced to all the trans stuff into their schools. And unless I do something now, I'm going to be defenseless over it. And that's really where this is going. And there's a hypersexual element to it. I think a lot of these trans individuals are really into autogynephilia. It is a erotic thing for them to impersonate the opposite sex. And we're now having people in positions of power in this country, from James Calrico to the coach of the WNBA, saying that they support trans kids. No one should be supporting any trans kids because there are no trans kids. It's a hoax. It's a total hoax. And all this does is try to normalize more debased behavior. It's horrible for society, and we need to get entirely less tolerant of it.
You know, Alex, I got a phone call a couple of years ago from hysterical parents. Their 12-year-old girl who was studying for a bat mitzvah had come home and decided her name was Debbie, or her name was Dave instead of Debbie. It's not actual names. And they had gone to the school. She had had her first menstrual cycle, and the school counselor. I don't know if you know this, in California, they only need to have 6 hours of training to be a school counselor. That's it. And the counselor had said, well, maybe you're a boy, so we're going to call you Dave for the next 2 months. Don't tell your parents. 2 months later, she says, call me Dave. I'm a boy. They go to the counselor. The counselor says, do you want a live son or a dead daughter? So they call the rabbi. And it was a win because I convinced her she's not going to do any changes until she's 27, 28. Talked about the plasticity of her brain, et cetera. But explained to her that there's the energy that someone has. We all have male and female energy. There's your sexual preference, gay, straight, bi, whatever. That can shift. But you can't change the chromosomes. No. You can't do it. And we have conflated those three things together in modern society in this transgender dysphoria stuff. But they're totally separate. What do we do about this in the schools? Because you and I both, my kids are a little bit older. We both have kids. Yeah. We're both concerned about this. What's the answer? What do we do about this craziness that's being taught in schools, certainly in California?
Yeah, well, on a short-term level, if you have children in these schools, you got to take them out. Is that you can't have any flirtation with this. Abigail Schreier's got an amazing book called Irreversible Damage, where she goes through all of these schools that trans the kids and don't tell the parents. And then a lot of these left-wing states and blue states make it so that it's actually illegal for the parents to do anything about it. And so the school is basically taken over as the parent. This is where the state overwhelms the family, and that is a conservative's nightmare. So if you see any inkling that that's happening in your school, you have no choice. You have to have zero tolerance policy. Take them out immediately. Homeschool, private school, move, whatever it is. You've got to protect the children in this regard. And on a medium to long-term basis, we have to win every single election. We have to get involved in our PTAs. We have to get involved in our school boards. And we have to take a stand that we have zero tolerance policy towards this trans stuff. Because as Trump said, I didn't understand the phraseology at first. I thought it was just him misspeaking, but it really is transgender for everyone. They want us nonstop talking about trans stuff because it is chaos. And the more chaos there is, the more the state steps in and grows the government.
I think you're absolutely right. And one of the challenges is that if the kids are athletically inclined or want to play sports, certainly I don't know this is true everywhere, but I do know it's true in California. If your kid wants to play in high school sports to hopefully play in college, you must go to a public school.
Yeah.
Or you must go to a private school that is in its own league. Otherwise, you don't have a choice. You can't do homeschooling and have your kid also be in an athletic program.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Is that my wife has a great career, and I think a lot of the desire for the return to the trad family, where the mom's in the home all the time, is I think a lot of this is sort of pie in the sky. It's just things are very expensive, and a lot of women want to be in careers. My wife's in a very nurturing career as a medical doctor, so she takes care of the community sick. So no one's around to do the homeschooling. So my kids are going to be in school. So it might be private school. Currently, it's public school. But overall, if they want to compete in sports and stuff, they're going to be there. And I got girls, and they're athletic, and I don't want them having a guy spike a volleyball in their face. And if anyone who tells me I'm crazy because I feel that way, then you're just wrong, and I want nothing to do with you.
Yeah, and as a former athlete and as someone who's worked with athletes, that there is such a qualitative difference. You got to keep your girls safe.
Obviously.
You really do.
The fact that we have to say it is crazy.
Yes. And again, I think it's because we're conflating person's energy, which may be male or female and shifts all the time, their sexuality, which is a choice, and the chromosomes. You can't change it. You simply can't. So much to talk with you about it because you really do have you're a wealth of information and insight. Let me just go in a different direction than the family per se. We have this conservative movement, which started becoming a bigger tent. The idea of bringing in and letting in different people. We've seen what that big tent concept has done with the Democratic Party. Sanders just talked about it, I think yesterday or today, and he's talked about bringing people in even if he disagrees with them. Is this destroying the conservative movement? What are the dangers we're getting from the woke right? I mean, the fact that we're embracing the nutsiness of Carlson, Candace, Owens, Nick Fuentes, et cetera, this is tearing apart, I think, so much potential. What do we do about these people who are way off the rails?
Yeah, I'm a believer that X, the Everything app, is not real life. And I don't honestly think these people have as much influence as they do. I think that I'm concerned about it on the one issue of Israel because there is a confluence of a lot of things. That the radical left, the DSA, very anti-Israel. The sort of, I guess you're calling it the woke right, which I've heard that expression, they're very anti-Israel. And Israel's done a real terrible job with their PR. I think they have a lot of righteous causes, but they haven't helped themselves in the PR front. And this is something I talked to Charlie Kirk a lot about before he passed away, which is that Charlie was a very pro-Israel guy, but he had huge issues with that. He thought that they were very bad at defending themselves. And I think they are, is that we have to turn to, some of the best arguments I've heard recently that Israel is not a genocidal state are coming from people like, Victor Davis Hanson, who's a classics historian and a Christian guy out in California. That shouldn't be the case. There should be better PR. And then Israel tried to do PR with Brad Parscale, our boss over at Salem. And then the right was criticizing him for trying to hire a guy to help them with PR. So Israel really needs help in that regard, and it will serve them better if they can get it somehow. That said, my concern is that we're just wasting time. I don't think these people are all that influential, but they're eating a lot of clock. And we need to get focused, the country focused on the good Trump has done in Iran. We need to get people focused on how we get life more affordable. We need to start championing a lot of the victories the president has had so far. And unless we do that, the Democrats are going to win with their socialist communist agenda in November. They're going to do impeachment bonanza in the next half of Trump's term. And we'll take a race in 2028 where we should win in a cakewalk because the Democrats are going to have a crazy bad candidate. And it's going to be close all of a sudden. So I really see some negative dominoes falling from here, but I'm not in a doom loop yet.
Okay, so we're going to come back to other issues. We'll come back to in a minute because this is the conservative world and also America and how we make America and the world and our families and our lives better. We're going to come right back after a moment as we're here with editor-in-chief of Breitbart News, man about town, and just a brilliant man and a great guest. And I'm so blessed to be here with Alex Marlow here at the Rabbi's Table. As we all know, there's been a war going on in Israel for over 2 years. And one of the places that's doing so much healing and so much work is the Bnei Zion Hospital in Haifa in Israel. They're one of the top rehab facilities in the world, and where all of the victims from the north go, and many from other places throughout the country, go up to Bnei Zion in Haifa. They built a nuclear-proof bunker and put a hospital inside of it. They finished that project in July of 23, and then the war started with Hamas terrorizing and kidnapping and killing so many people on October 7th, and it's been horrible since then. Today, we have this war going on with Iran and Hezbollah, where all these wounded are going to Bnei Zion Hospital, and the hospital needs your help. The hospital needs to raise funds so they can provide more facilities. They can provide more medicine, more healing for the many people, Jews, Christians, Catholics, Druze, Muslims, all the people who have been bombed, hurt, injured. We need to help them, and you can make a difference. And I really want to invite you to. Go to healthcareforisrael.org. That's healthcareforisrael.org. Make a donation. I'm a rabbi, but rarely can I say that I've been involved in saving someone's physical life. When I've made donations to this hospital, when I've raised money for the hospital, that money goes directly and saves human lives. Rarely can any of us say that we've done that. I am begging you, I am pleading with you, please go to Healthcare for Israel. Save some lives. Every dollar, every dime that you donate is both tax deductible, but every dime goes straight to the hospital for its good work. Again, that's Healthcare for Israel. Support Israel by doing this. Support Bnei Zion Hospital. Support humanity. And make a difference by healing and saving lives. So this is my favorite part of the show, actually. It's not on the radio. It's only for the podcast listeners and viewers only. And it's when we're not on a time clock, which is so much more organic and nice. And it's such a blessing, again, Alex, for you to be here and share some time. You've expressed who you are and what you know in your writings, in your editing, in your podcast, in your radio show. You've taken over part of Charlie's old slot, right, for Salem?
Yes. Yeah, on the live show, yeah.
And that's every day on your Salem outlet at what time?
Generally, it's noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, but sometimes it might air at a different time depending on what else is going on in your local market.
So you're doing radio, you're doing podcast, because you also have an Alex Marlow podcast for Breitbart. Do you do that every day?
Radio's 5 days a week, and then podcasts, I'm contractually obliged to do 3 additional hours a week. Sometimes I'll do a little more, sometimes I'll do a little less. You may have noticed I've got a few things to say, so usually the issue is trying to keep my words in parsing them in an economical fashion. So I can always fill the time.
So, okay, you're doing your radio podcast, you write, you edit, and you're busy with all of that. And you express who you are very clearly in terms of your views and everything. But at the end of the day, Alex, I'm a rabbi. I may do political commentary in whatever way, but I'm a rabbi. I believe your mother was Jewish, your father was Catholic. I don't know how
Yes.
you were raised. Did you grow up with faith tradition? Are you practicing faith tradition in your home now? Or?
Yeah, we are Catholic in my house. My dad was more active in the religious side, and so though I did go to my fair share of bar and bat mitzvahs growing up in West Los Angeles.
Sure.
But I've been going to Catholic church pretty consistently since late childhood, and that's how I'm raising my family.
It's a beautiful church. For years, I was a professor at Loyola Marymount. I was professor of theology and the Hillel director there. How does your faith play into your viewpoint of the world and of the political issues that you deal with in so many ways, in so many mediums?
One thing that's interesting for me is that a lot of integrity issues come up when you're in my line of work. There is a lot of ways you're thinking about how to frame stories. A lot of people who are bad actors reach out to you with interesting information. There's good information. And I don't know how someone could be an ethical journalist unless you had some faith underpinning. And I think the Judeo-Christian values are the superior value system of our country. And I do think that people who are smart, even if you're an atheist, you understand that we all are beneficiaries of the fact that our framers and our founders had a Judeo-Christian ethic, and that they truly believed that they were forging a country the way that God intended, and a Judeo-Christian God specifically. And that's what we're conserving as a conservative movement. And that's my guiding light is I'm a journalist by way of being a conservative activist. And I completely fundamentally believe that a lot of the best journalism comes from people that have a partisan perspective, and I do, and I announce it to the public whenever I'm doing it right now voluntarily. And you can evaluate my work accordingly, knowing that I have that perspective. But my integrity comes from my faith in God and my belief that I'm being held to account, not by man, but from God on a daily basis. And one other thing is I've gotten into my middle age, mathematically speaking. I feel kind of young, but I know the math on this is I just turned 40, so it puts me in middle age mathematically. That what is this all for? What's the point of this? The vast majority of us, with maybe the exception of Trump, and hopefully not my friend Charlie, will be gone and forgotten in 100 years' time, 200 years' time at best. What's the point of this? For me, having a relationship with Jesus Christ helps me when I'm thinking, why am I doing all this? Why am I putting in all this effort? Which normally I feel pretty good. I'm a very positive, upbeat person in general. I'm optimistic in my life. But whenever I'm feeling negative, the fact that the whole point of this is yet to come is a deep comfort to me. And so it does inspire me to then feel better and get back to doing the stuff that matters.
Charlie made the comment that at one point that he found God, he discovered Christ when he was in Israel, actually with my friend Pastor Rob McCoy. And he had made that comment. Have you been to Israel?
Man.
Have you spent any time in Eretz Israel?
I haven't, and it's something that is always something I think about a lot, and I know I will, but I haven't to this point. As you know, Breitbart, we're a very pro-Israel website. We have a Jerusalem bureau, and the idea for Breitbart came up in Israel, where Andrew and our CEO and president, Larry, who were both raised Jewish, were in Israel on a trip, and that's where Andrew convinced Larry to departner from his law firm and help Andrew start his empire. So there's always an Israel connection.
It's your kids are 7 and how old?
I've got a 7, 6, 4, and 2.
They're a little young to remember it, but when they get a bit older, it's an amazing journey, and it's just an amazing experience and life-changing. Charlie really did express it well when he said that he found God there, when he was walking the steps with Jesus. So you touched on this question a little bit. Why do what you do? I mean, let's be clear.
Yeah.
You may love what you do, and you may think it's a fabulous job. You also have a lot of inherent challenges. I'm assuming you get much more hate mail and death threats than I do. I'm assuming you get a lot of hate, a lot of challenges for your kids, for your family, because you are a leader in a conservative movement in a state that is not exactly conservative friendly.
Yeah.
Why do it?
Well, first of all, I believe that this is my purpose, and my God-given purpose is to try to be a spokesman for a couple of the greatest value systems on earth, American values and Judeo-Christian values. And I think that that's my calling. It is a calling. I've always felt like I was chosen to do that. And it's a mystery, the details of it, the nuances, the contours of it. But that is how I've always felt since I was young. And I feel like my voice is best channeled through things like headlines and talk radio broadcasting and things like that. So that's where I've steered into. It's where my interest level lies as well. But I do feel like I have deep privilege, and that word's been cheapened a lot. And it has nothing to do with my whiteness. It has to do with that I'm an American, and I grew up in a free society at a great moment. I was born in the mid 1980s. I got to grow up in the 90s. You can't get much luckier than I've been, and I believe deeply in service. And I'm doing what I feel like is a service to try to help preserve this country. And I know that my wife, her calling is medicine, and she feels like she's the similar vein. She's a privileged person who wants to give back. She doesn't need to work to the level she works, but she feels like that to have a meaningful life, you need to give back. That's how I feel as well. And the last thing I mentioned, a meaningful life, we are called, I think, to have the richest, most meaningful experience imaginable. Those are kind of serious terms. You could also say, I often say to people, let's do cool stuff. That's another way to phrase it. But you want to have a rich life experience, and you never make the wrong decision trying to do cool stuff.
Are you familiar with the Hebrew concept of tikkun ha'olam? Have you ever heard that phrase before?
I've heard it. I'm not connecting perfectly with it, but it's definitely something I've heard.
The idea is that every soul has a purpose in life. It's kind of like every soul is an instrument in God's symphony, and your life's journey is finding the instrument that you're supposed to play and playing your one note in tune. And if we all were doing that, and we were all playing our own instruments, the right note in tune, that would be the sound of heaven on earth. Simplest way of phrasing it.
It's so interesting because I love music, but I was not a super gifted musician. I was a very good baseball player. I'd love to be in center field somewhere, but not quite good enough. But I do feel like God did guide me to my instrument pretty early.
He really did, because you've known this from the time you were a teenager. How did you fall into being the messenger to get dry cleaning, among other things, for Andrew Breitbart? How did you fall into that from being a kid? Because you started doing it in high school, right?
Yeah, in high school, there's a confluence of two things. The first thing was just a love of talk radio, which was given to me by my parents. Larry Elder would always be in the car when I get home from carpool. I found Dennis Prager pretty young via his Pragertopia podcast, this was before podcasting was a thing. And then the Drudge Report. I fell in love with the news when Drudge's website was conservative. Just super exciting, flashy, up to the minute, a compilation, a curation, almost like a museum, almost like a mosaic, like a piece of art of what's going on in the world. And I was falling in love with those things at the same time. And then realizing that when I would go to school at the prestigious Harvard Westlake School, very liberal school, but very academically demanding where I was in high school, is a lot of the stuff I was getting from Drudge and talk radio were not what I was getting in school. And I found that curiosity something that I needed to explore. And I realized a lot of it was politics. And when I realized that, I realized I wanted to be a part of the guys creating the content that I thought was more true.
It's fabulous that you actually found this. And how old were you? 16, 17 when you started working for Andrew?
I was 21 when I started working for Andrew. 20 or 21. Yeah.
So it was after Cal.
So it was the end of college. Yeah. And I interned for Larry Elder when I was 18, 19. That was kind of my first. That was the resume item that I think let Andrew know that I can trust this guy and he can come into my home and hang out with me while I do crazy stuff.
You interned with one of the great men of our time, truly 100%. A sage.
I got to tell you, I ran to Larry in the elevator because our shows are a couple hours apart, so I don't see him every day. But it's just the sight of the man just gives you happiness. Just
it does.
See him. He's had that contribution to American life.
It does, and he's just fabulous in so many levels. So you're now, as you put it, in middle age. Okay. You want to keep going down this path? Do you want to change and add other things? I mean, you're expanding into radio, podcasts, all the different mediums. Do you want to get a TV show, make a movie, be Dinesh D'Souza making, whatever film? What do you see as the future for Alex Marlow?
Wow, it's such a great question because I do think about this a lot. And I'll tell you, I'll just be really candid. I'll give you low-hanging fruit and things that are more pie in the sky. Low-hanging fruit, I think I need to do eventually some sort of a curated either newsletter or website where it's just sort of all the things I'm thinking about, things that aren't necessarily just. We've created amazing voice at Breitbart, which is a lot of my voice. But there's other interesting things that are out there. I would like to do something like that. It might be best as a newsletter, so people see all the stuff that is going into the mosaic of stories I choose on my shows and at Breitbart. So something like that would be good. I think I should be doing more mentorship with younger people because I think I've always been a good mentor to people, even older people, because of that unique fortune I've had of being around the greatest conservative minds of our time, from Larry to Charlie to Andrew to Steve to so many of them. Donald Trump, I've gotten to know very well. All these things, I think I have a lot I can share that I haven't. But ultimately you want to have the biggest canon possible. And it does seem like the biggest canons right now are movies. And I don't know if I've got the visual eye for it. So that's one where I feel like I should be trying to make movies. And I write books and tens of thousands of people read them, but millions and millions of people go to movies. And Dinesh figured this out and he figured out how to do it. And that's very admirable. And I've not really taken that on, but I probably should.
Okay. And anything beyond movies? Anything outside of the political world that you've always wanted to explore and intend on exploring at some point?
That's another tricky thing. See, I think I could write fiction. I think I could write children's fiction. I have the big interest in horror movies. I think they're a great vehicle for conservative values. I think I could write some things that are fictionalized. My nonfiction books have done very well, so I have a good, agency and publisher behind me. But I don't want to waste time, and I don't want to waste the audience time. And then also, the written word is just not as popular as it was. It's a multimedia age, and I have almost zero interest in social media. And that's where a lot of people are spending their time.
Okay. One other question I think before we kind of conclude this part of the podcast segment. What's the lesson you want to teach? If there's one lesson that you can teach the world, one, what's that lesson? You have been around some of the greatest minds of the last century.
Yeah.
Okay. You have. There's a great saying in Talmud that we should drink thirstily at the feet of sages. You've spent half a lifetime doing that. You've integrated with your own wisdom. What's the one lesson you want to share to the world that the world needs to know?
I'll do something I'll cheat. I'll give the easy, obvious one. I'll try to give something more nuanced. The easy, obvious one is that we've got the blueprint. It is the Ten Commandments coupled with American values. E pluribus unum, in God we trust, and liberty. If we all lived by E pluribus unum, in God we trust, First Amendment, Second Amendment, and the Ten Commandments, we're basically done. We're going to have utopia here. It's getting people to do that. That's the hard part. And there are challenges that come up. There are distractions that come up. The latest one is the cell phone addiction. It's just distracting us, conditioning us to be too materialist, to not be focused. And a lot of the best work comes from deep focus and deep thought. And that's the obvious one that I wish I could impart on everyone. If everyone did that, then I could play a lot more golf, I think, comfortably. The more interesting one is I am a genuinely I think you said something really important in there. And then almost everyone has something to offer. And if you listen to people in full, there's almost some truth you can glean. I would listen to Dennis Prager's shows, and he's the best of the group. But all I would need is one good idea out of a whole hour, and I feel like it was time well spent. And so be conversant, be conversational, put yourself out there, work hard, and just be open-minded for the next opportunity, not just to create or to make money or whatever, but to learn. Because you're only going to learn through seeking out smart people and through experiences.
And I think that's a great way to maybe close down this podcast segment, that we do need to seek new experiences. And you've been doing that, and you've been doing it with sages, not just the sage of South Central, but with sages for a long time. And it's kind of you to share your soul. It really is. And I think for me, that's the most important lesson, and the most important part that you can share is who you really are. And everything else is how you manifest in the world. So we're going to come right back to the radio part of the show as we return with Alex Marlow to the Rabbi's Table. One of the greatest places that I know of to go to, whether it's for a day, a week, or even a little longer, is a vacation up in Reno, specifically at the Atlantis Resort and Casino in Reno. It's amazing up there, and it's a little gem of Reno that is often just ignored. I go up there with my family. There's wintertime skiing. There's summertime at the Lake Tahoe. And the Atlantis Resort and Casino is an amazing place to stay. Not only are the rooms beautiful, amazing views, but some of the restaurants are the best restaurants in the country, the Napa Bistro, different places that you can eat. There's an indoor pool. So you can go skiing in the morning and then go swimming in the afternoon. I really want to recommend to you to check out the Atlantis Resort. It's at atlantiscasino.com. That's atlantiscasino.com, ATLANTIS casino.com. It's up in Reno. I promise you, and I've been there, I promise you, you're going to have an amazing time. You won't be able to wait till you get back. Go visit it. Go see Reno. It's the greatest little city in the world. Go have some fun at the Atlantis. So we're back here at the Rabbi's Table. This is the wonderful segment that we do each week where we bring in our guest, not only our wonderful guest of this week, Alex Marlow, but we bring in our guest, commentator Angela Vanderploom. Angela, say hi to Alex. Alex, say hi to Angela. If you don't know each other yet, you should, because you both are in the same world. So say hi to each other.
Yeah, Angela, I hope I didn't bore you with the last hour of content. Rabbi, you forced her to listen to my rantings the whole time? That's crazy.
Well, actually, I liked one of your points because I tend to do this a lot. I like to find people who are smarter than I am and learn from them. And in that way I can, bring those lessons into my life. So I found a lot of value in that reminder.
See,
it really is important.
See, you can't beat me up on that, Alex. So,
and it takes effort. It takes effort. You'll find yourself, and you're not surrounded by enough inspiring people. You've got to surround yourself with inspiring people. You will get way more out of yourself if you're doing that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about some people who aren't inspiring or who are inspiring through a via negativa. Zohran Mamdani, destroying the city of New York. My contention is Mamdani is not a socialist. He's a Muslim first, a Muslim second, a Muslim third. He's a devout Muslim who has read and believes and lives the Quran and the Hadiths. That's going on in New York. And then just at this primary election in Michigan, we have El Sayed getting the Democratic nomination for senator, which would make him the first Muslim senator, I believe, in the history of the United States. And if you look at his background, he's clearly someone who is very committed to the Muslim values of creating a worldwide caliphate of Sharia law. Who wants to begin talking about Mamdani and especially El Sayed?
Well, I'll go really fast. I'll just bring up one quick point. I find it fascinating how close all of these elections are, right? So I'll say I had won yesterday by just shy of 15,000 votes. Just 15,000. And the other person that was running was Mallory McMorrow, I believe her name is. She dropped out in July. She got 60,000 votes. So these people are running in very specific places where they know that they can win and winning by small margins. So it's not really their ideas that are winning. It's just that they know they can win and they have the people. So my issue with all of this is, what are we doing as a people, and are we doing our civic duty, and are we showing up? Yes, it is the Democratic primary and their party is taken over, and I understand that. But there are a lot of Democrats that I know that don't want the progressivism. Are they showing up to the ballot box? And why are we allowing this to happen? And what are we going to do about it in November as Republicans? Are we going to show up and make sure that he doesn't win?
So Alex, what do we need to do? And what was your take on the whole election last night?
I think it went better than I expected. I thought Saeed would dominate, and I think that would be kind of scary. I think the fact that he won narrowly, and the McMorrow observation by Angela is really astute. I made that exactly on my live show earlier today as we were recording it, which is she got 4% of the vote. She dropped out weeks ago, and she was nuts also. And Haley Stevens was a terrible candidate, backed by a lot of establishment Democrats who are not compelling. And she was doing the thing where she was pitching her voice to make it sound more folksy, which was just totally bogus. I played clips of my show of her, and she sounds like a normal person until like the last few months. You start saying, we're going to stick it to them and stuff like that, which is just nails on a blackboard to normal Michiganders. So I thought Saeed would win by a lot more. And so now we've got this real interesting moment because he's either going to be a superstar or he's going to get crushed. And he becomes a superstar if he is able to frame himself as saying, I just want Medicare for all, access to health care, we're taking money out of politics, and we're going to make life more affordable. If he's allowed to talk that way and he stays on message, he's going to have a real chance against Mike Rogers. But if we successfully frame him, as we need to, and this is the truth, as someone who minimizes terrorism, who pals around people who think America deserved 9/11, people who have admiration for Hezbollah, who think that a terrorist attack on a synagogue in Michigan was just hurting people, which is his exact quote. If we frame him that way successfully, he's going to lose by a lot.
So did he actually say, was Syed say that, or one of his compatriots said that about the synagogue in Michigan?
No, that's what he said. That was his exact thing. He said it was a horrible thing, but he talked about how the terrorists brother, he implied the terrorist brother had gotten killed by Israel in Lebanon, who's also a terrorist. So it's like, that's why. But no, yeah, no, he minimizes acts of terror.
So, is Rogers going to beat him? What do you think? Yes or
I
no?
think so. Yeah, I do. I think that Michigan there's the demographics are on our side, and I think that politics is a lot of it is demographics, and I think a lot of people, the more they get to know Syed, are not gonna like him. But I don't want to underestimate his political talent. He is very Obama-esque in the way he speaks. He's very Teflon. He's very confident. And I think he's smarter than people give him credit for. I think a lot of the stuff he says, even though it sounds insane, I think is calculated. But he seems very narcissistic. He's really in the weightlifting. I think it's a Napoleon complex thing. He's very short. And so this is I'm not saying this to throw shade, though it is. I'm saying it because this is my actual analysis. I think that he has a real weakness in that I think he's got a lot of narcissism issues that is going to prevent him from staying on message consistently enough to win.
Angela, what do you think?
I think he's very social media savvy. You know, I've scrolled through his timeline more than I'd like to admit while trying to keep up with everything that was going on in the race. And I do see the narcissism, but I also see that he's very good with it. I think we keep coming back to these issues and they keep making everything about Israel and AIPAC and defeating them and then they go on message, like you said, they go Medicare for all the progressive values. But as we know, that's not really their real agenda. I'm just more concerned on our side, if that's galvanizing us and making us want to go out and make sure that this doesn't happen. Because I do see a little fold in the Republican Party that worries me, where they believe, okay, they're saying this about Israel, well, I don't care about Israel, or Israel is doing this, or they believe that. So that's just not enough to make sure that the Republicans are winning. And I think that we need just a little bit more. To you and I, it makes absolute sense. But to everybody else, I just think we need to go that extra mile to make sure that they do show up.
Okay. So what do we do then, Alex, Angela, with if at the end of the day right now, Israel is becoming such a core issue that can pull people one way or the other because people are buying into whatever propaganda. I mean, the three of us know that Israel is the first line of defense for Western civilization and America is the last line of defense. What do we do in the conservative movement with all of the people who have now, for really the first time, I think, in Republican history, so many people are against Israel because they're buying into the propaganda? Because those people, combined with the far left gaze for Palestine, which is just mind-blowing because, chicken sorting for Colonel Sanders, that creates a real problem. What do we do in conservatives? The Republican Party is not all unified as it always has been. It's not all unified pro-Israel, and it needs to be. What can we do about that, Alex?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of issues here. First of all, you have to use mockery and ridicule to define the opposite side. They want socialism and open borders. They think the most important issue to socialist Americans is Israel. All this is completely incoherent, and the only unifying way all these connect is each one of these data points would be used to destroy America. It's all about destroying this country. That's the only thing that they've got in common. You can't have a huge welfare state and an open border. That's impossible. Why would socialists care about foreign wars overseas? They are supposed to not care about it. They're supposed to care about what's going on domestically. So we got to exploit that. But we need to do a better job touting our victories. I touched on this a little bit earlier with you, Rabbi. We need to focus on what really is getting Americans down, and that's cost of living. It's what it is. It's not what's going on overseas. As much as I admire what Trump is doing in Iran in a lot of ways, we might need to just do a series of devastating attacks and get out of there as fast as we can to try to make sure we're getting the focus on making life more affordable for Americans. So if we don't do that, then who knows what's going to happen.
Hey, look, the idea of a few devastating attacks, many people in Israel should have believed that should have been done a long time ago.
They might have been right.
And having just gotten back there. Okay, so, and Angela, you would agree with what Alex is saying? Do you want to add anything to that briefly?
No, I absolutely agree. I think we do need to focus more on the American issues and less on the foreign. Obviously, a war with Iran plays a part, but I think that the cost of living and everyone, that there's a online debacle going on right now. I think it's between like James Lindsay and Matt, what's his name from
Walsh, yeah.
Walsh. Okay, so they're fighting back and forth about it, but they both have really good points. It's not Trump's fault that this is happening, but it does cost a lot more money for the average family to cook dinner, and these are things that we're worried about. And the Democrats are killing it. And I'm not saying I agree with them because I don't agree with socialism, but when you tell people, hey, we can't afford this, we want to help you, and we're not doing the same with viable solutions, it becomes a problem.
Well, you also look. There's an irony. Mamdani, I understand, wants to look for IDs to get into his grocery stores, but you don't have to have an ID to vote. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and he doesn't want New Yorkers to. He doesn't want New Jerseyans and Connecticutans, however you say it, they can't use the grocery stores either. So now he likes borders all of a sudden.
So we're getting close to the end of this. And Alex, there's a question that I ask every person because I think it's really important. I think we need to, for our own identification, our own self-awareness, as well as for our interaction with the world. One word or one phrase that really personifies the soul, the being of Alex Marlow.
I'm here to party. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's a great question. I don't know. I am. If there's a word or a phrase, I think I would say. Hopefully, integrity would be how I want people to describe me. And if I had integrity, I'm also a very loyal person, but I like integrity more. So I'll try to go with integrity.
Integrity is an amazing quality, and the balance that creates inside a person's soul, in their lives, and in the world. Angela, thank you so much, as always, for being here and for sharing this time. Alex, I have a question. And first of all, Angela, just to remind people, because we don't do this often enough, how can people reach out or read your writings?
Oh, they can just find me on Twitter. It's kind of a joke, but I keep it as Ann Jew, like Jew Law 90. And you can just find me on Twitter, and I'll post everything on there.
Great. And Alex, what's the best way for people to be able to access all of the Alex Marlow media empire and all of the great thoughts, as well as where you party at? What's the best way for people to track you?
The irony is I'm actually not a big partier, so that's part of it.
Oh, you play golf, so you know that.
I golf and raise kids. Yeah,
that's that.
And listen to a lot of talk radio.
Golf is a party, and raising kids, we both know, is a party. It's just not necessarily fun all the time, but it is a party.
So the Alex Marlow Show, wherever you get your podcasts, but the real fun one is, I've been looking at my traffic numbers. The Breitbart.com app for your news, it just gets tons and tons of traffic. So I bet a lot of your audience already has it. But if you don't have it, it is very, very popular, and I'm proud of that.
And I want to make it clear that that's not just for people who are conservative. It's a place of education. And we should always read, hear, listen to the people who have different thoughts than we do in every way. So, Angela, thank you as always. Alex, I can't thank you enough, just not only for being here, but for everything you do. Most importantly, raising 4 beautiful children, God willing, may they always stay healthy and strong and blessed. Thank you so much for being here, for joining us at the table. We'll be right back with our final segment. But Alex, thank you so much. Hazaku Baruch, may you be strong, may you be blessed, and may every good blessing come for you, your family, and your work. We'll be right back here at the Rabbi's Table. If you like what you're seeing and hearing at the Rabbi's Table, I invite you to subscribe and to follow us on any of your podcast mediums, Spotify, iHeart, Apple, whatever it is. You can just follow us. You'll get all the latest information, special information from us, special segments of podcasts. You can also go to pound 250. You can go on your cell phone, dial pound 250. When the recording comes up, say, find my podcast. It will ask you what podcast, say the Rabbi's Table. And from then on, you will always get our podcast, our show, directly to your phone. So I invite you to sit with me, with our guests, with the different icons, and join us by being part of the podcast, part of the group, part of the community at the Rabbi's Table. So we're here at the Rabbi's Table, having just had this wonderful dialogue with Alex Marlow. A dialogue with a man of wisdom, a man of great experience, and who really has personified the Talmudic concept of drinking thirstily at the feet of sages, and so he has his own wisdom. And he puts it out there through not just his radio and podcast, but he really puts it out there through his writing. the writings he does, the editing he does for Breitbart News, it is important to understand how integral and important a writer is and the responsibility of being a writer. For those who don't know, the Torah scroll, the Torah is the first 5 books of the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and it's originally written in scroll form. And a man called a sofer, or a scribe, has to write it by hand. It's over 80 pages of parchment, and they're sewn, each page is sewn together. If one mistake is made on one of the parchments, the sofer has to burn or bury that page and start the whole page all over again. He's got to be someone who, before he writes, he goes and he takes a mikveh. This is the ancient root of a baptism. He goes and he cleanses himself with blessings with water. He doesn't say anything, and then he goes and he writes the calligraphy of the Torah and ultimately sews the pieces together. The idea is kavanah, intention. The word in Hebrew is kavanah. His intention must be clean. He must live in a full and in a clean way, especially when he's writing, when he's communicating. And so the Torah, which is a scroll and beautiful, and if you haven't seen the inside of one, I suggest going to a synagogue, asking the rabbi to open it up for you, they will. The Torah has had power for these thousands of years, and part of that is because of the intention of the scribes. My suggestion is that we all need to do this in every form of communication we do. We need to make sure we're clean before we say anything, that we have integrity, as Alex put it, before we communicate our values, our goals, our intentions. That whether it's writing or speaking, podcasts, movies, or just talking to our children or each other, that we need to have an open heart. We need to have cleansed ourselves before we really communicate. We need to make sure we're not carrying on all the junk of the world, but that we communicate with integrity and with love. And if we do that, I can guarantee you, if we all start our communications that way, we'll have a lot more peace in the world. Thank you so much for coming to the Rabbi's Table, for sharing the time together. I hope to see you next week. I think next week, actually, we have Eric Metaxas as a guest. But I hope to see you soon. Chazaka Baruch. May you be strong, be blessed. And I'll see you soon at the Rabbi's Table.
Oh, God is always there when you got faith.